was shocked at everything, you know what I'm saying? But I wasn't.
Welcome to the Undercurrent. I'm Lauren Windsor. In Manhattan, in late October, activists and press gathered to hear Noor Elashi speak out against the legal treatment of the Holy Land Five, in advance of the Supreme Court's decision whether or not to hear their appeal. Noor's father, Grayson Elashi, was the co-founder of the Holy Land Foundation, once the largest Muslim charity in America. The foundation was shut down and its leaders arrested shortly after 9/11 by the Bush administration, following reports that the charity gave funds to a Palestinian committee with alleged ties to Hamas. What's problematic with the charges is the fact that the U.S. Agency for International Development and the Red Cross have periodically given money to the very same committee. Further, the prosecution relied on hearsay and testimony from an anonymous Israeli intelligence agent, marking the first time in U.S. history that a court accepted testimony from an anonymous witness. In 2009, the ACLU decried the Holy Land Five case, noting that the U.S. government violated the First Amendment and due process rights of Muslim charities. 5 of the foundation's leaders were convicted of conspiracy under the Material Support to Terrorists statute and given sentences ranging from 15 to 65 years in federal prison. Grayson Elashi is now serving 65 years. Independent journalist Rudkowski of wearechange.org was on the ground for Noor's statement.
On the day my father was arrested, he managed to pause for a few seconds and look into my eyes and say, "Keep your head up high, because your father did nothing wrong." My father co-founded the Holy Land Foundation in 1989. He's told me that he knew he'd face some challenges because American foreign policy has been in favor of Israel, and thus Palestinian sovereignty has not been a main concern. I am still in shock that the case has gone as far as it has, because in its essence, the Holy Land Foundation case is about a bold humanitarian endeavor that was put to an end. I stand before you unbowed, proud to be the daughter of Grayson Elashi, because as my father put it on sentencing day, quote, "I had no intention in my mind and in my heart but to help the Palestinian indigenous people who are and have been facing unusual economic distress." This week, as the highest court of the land decides on the fate of the Holy Land Five, it is time for me to tell my father, "Keep your head up high."
Last week, the Supreme Court decided not to hear the appeal of the Holy Land Five. The only recourse left for the case is for a presidential pardon. An important California ballot initiative is Prop 37, which would require the labeling of genetically modified organisms in food. Proponents like Food and Water Watch say, "We have a right to know," while critics like Monsanto point to exemptions and higher food costs. The outcome of Prop 37 will likely have far-reaching consequences as Monsanto and other chemical companies try to squelch similar national measures. After requesting an interview with Monsanto, I received a speedy reply, a voicemail asking for the subject of my proposed interview. I again left a message, this time stating Prop 37, and have since received no reply. I sat down with Jessica Parra-Fitch of Food and Water Watch to find out more about genetically engineered food and why voters should support Prop 37. Can you tell us exactly what a GMO is for any viewers at home that may not be aware of that?
Definitely. So genetically engineered food is food that has been modified in a laboratory by adding DNA from other plants, animals, bacteria, or viruses.
Why is it important to label GMOs?
It's important to label GE food because people have the right to know what's in their food. This is a modern phenomenon. You know, before all of us ate organically, and now we see a major shift in our food system. And I think it's very important for people to be aware of what they are consuming. And most people are not aware. Most people don't know what GMOs or GE, genetically engineered food is. So I think it's very important for people to have that basic knowledge of what is in their food. And I think that when we look at the history of food labeling, these corporations have always been against it and then have always said the same arguments. They have always said that it's going to raise the price in food. They said this back in the 1990s with nutrition labeling. They said this back in 2002 with country of origin labeling, and in 2003 with trans fats. And we didn't see a rise in food then, so it wouldn't be any different. Plus, this would just be a simple label, and corporations have about 18 months to actually go through with the labeling of GE food, and they have to revise their labeling frequently anyways in that amount of time. So this really wouldn't raise.
So it wouldn't be an undue burden?
Not at all.
Are there any conclusive studies that show that GE food is bad for you?
There have been several studies that have raised a lot of concerns, and really what we see is that there have been no long-term studies of the effects that GE food would have on human health and the environment. So to say that it's been proven safe is false. And to use studies that have been funded by the same corporations that are selling and using, that are GE seed corporations and junk food corporations, I think is very dangerous, and I think consumers should be very skeptical of these ads that we're being bombarded with. And I think it really just goes back down to the right to know. Why would we not want to know what's in our food?
Exactly. So what are some of the countries that currently require labeling of GMOs?
So GE foods are labeled in over 60 countries across the world, the entire European Union, Japan, Australia, Brazil, China.
Even in China, notoriously lax China requires the labeling of GMOs. That's pretty insane.
So the United States, we do not.
And we can't even go as far as China in regulating our food? That's pretty sad. On Sunday, October 28th, former Florida Congressman and current congressional candidate Alan Grayson came to Los Angeles for a fundraiser at the Hollywood Improv, headlined by comedians Sarah Silverman and Rick Overton. Silverman has been a tour de force in political commentary with notable videos on voter suppression and campaign finance. Rick Overton, who organized the event, is known for his socially conscious stand-up with riffs on 99% themes. After the show, Alan and I talked about the state of his campaign, healthcare, and voter suppression. Tell us about your campaign. How's it going? He's running against Todd Long.
I have the benefit of running against somebody who disagrees with essentially everyone whom he wants to represent. It's funny. I like to tell people about the good things we've done. For instance, when I was in Congress, we cut foreclosures in half. So I can point to specific things that I accomplished when I was in Congress. But this is party time because my opponent wants to do all these crazy things that nobody thinks. He wants to raise the retirement age to 72. So you have to keep working until you're 72. And you don't have any Medicare qualification until you're 72. In the meantime, you either have to pay for insurance yourself, or you don't have it and you get sick, or you can die.
And which you famously, I'm sorry, I'm going to point this out to viewers at home, that Mr. Grayson here famously stood on the floor of Congress and said, the Republicans' plan for healthcare. Don't get sick.
But if you do get sick,
die quickly. I want to talk to you about voter suppression.
We're preventing it, and the way we're preventing it is telling people get your ballot in way before election day, because if there's any problem, then you'll know and you can fix it. In Florida, if you actually put in your ballot by mail, and I voted last Friday, if you put in your ballot by mail, you can go to the website and actually check to see whether your vote was counted or not. And if it's not counted, then you can go and you can do it again.
Here's a look at the stand that made Grayson famous and endeared him to many, including me.
Here it is, the Republicans' health care plan for America. Don't get sick. That's right, don't get sick. If you have insurance, don't get sick. If you don't have insurance, don't get sick. If you're sick, don't get sick. Just don't get sick. So the Republicans have a backup plan in case you do get sick. If you get sick in America, this is what the Republicans want you to do. If you get sick, America, the Republican health care plan is this. Die quickly. That's right. The Republicans want you to die quickly if you get sick.
His passion for progressive values is why I'm proud to endorse Alan Grayson for Congress in Florida's 9th District. Californians, don't forget to vote yes on Prop 37. I'm Lauren Windsor. Thanks for watching. Get pulled in to the undercurrents.
Inside the book of Revelations, demons came from heavenly places, and it makes me wonder if I'm under some sort of spiritual matrix with the truth pulled over my eyes with the evil forces that compromise my state of mind. Have I been hypnotized to believe in lies with the monologue questioning God like Habakkuk, cause the odds keep stacking up? Where is the illumination for the human nation? We are ruining nations by the moves we're making. They try to search for peace by going to war. It don't make sense, like trying to blend oil and water in a bowl. It'll never happen. Look at the reaction from the double tap, and retaliation is what happens. It just never stops.